Oh my goodness. Hi, teacups. How are you guys? How is everybody feeling today? I'm so excited because we have a really fun episode for you guys today. I'm Christina,
I'm Tenna, and today we have
a really special guest.
a really special guest.
I'm really excited, but we're not going to tell you who it is yet because you're going to see them in a second. Right now, we're going to talk about a few little housekeeping things first before we get started in our episode. So, I am going to talk to you guys about Broadway for Racial Justice. If you see the link on the screen, it's to our GoFundMe that we set up for Broadway for Racial Justice to raise money, and we're going to have this link on and off again up throughout this entire episode. But if you guys don't know what Broadway for Racial Justice is, it is a company dedicated to helping people of color in the theater industry. They have so many different amazing things, and they're a new company, so for them to have done this much work in this short amount of time is absolutely insane. It's work that needed to be done for a long time, but they have a casting initiative that they're working on right now. They amplify people of color who are artists, and it doesn't even just have to be a theater artist. You can be a visual artist or a vocal artist. Kenna was one of their amplified people before, and they have different programs. They have like conferences all of the time, and different they had a forum for Asian hate, stopping Asian hate. And they even have resources for a white ally. So if you're not a person of color, but you want to help out and you want to further the cause, definitely check them out. They're Broadway for Racial Justice. And we have a GoFundMe. Our goal is to raise $5,000 and, go donate. It's right there. Kenna is going to talk to you guys about Black Theater Kits now.
Yes, so Black Theater Kids is rewarding $250 of petty cash grants. So all you have to do is make a TikTok and tag them on why you think you deserve a grant, and this could pay for theater productions, dance, voice, and or even like dance shoes and clothes. And the details will be on their page, so definitely look out for that.
Definitely go check that out. So yeah, also check out our socials. Our socials are at Christina and Kenna. We're at Christina and Kenna on Instagram, and we also have a YouTube channel. It's called Christina and Kenna Spill the Tea. So if you ever miss a stream, you can go check it out later on the YouTube channel. But if you go and you follow us on our Instagram page, we have a link tree in our bio that has all of our different links. It has links to our personal Instagram pages as well as to our GoFundMe and to different resources for Broadway for Racial Justice. And we also post who our guests are, which is a really cool thing.
We do guest to guest, where you can guess who the guest is for our show, and we post all the information there. So I would go follow it.
Definitely would. Okay, we're going to be right back with our guest for today. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, hi! Hi, this is our guest for today. Our guest is Ryan McCartan. If you don't know who Ryan McCartan is, he is a really cool guy, and we're about to talk all about him, but first, we always like to start off with an emotional check-in just to see where everybody's at, how everybody's feeling, so we can address that and go forward. So, Ryan, how are you feeling today?
Oh, I have to go first?
Yes, you have to go
yes.
first. You have to go first.
Man. How am I today? I'm okay today. I think I had therapy yesterday, which was amazing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that, it's one of those things, this is something that I've been finding a lot lately, is that, like, everything in my circle is good, and everything in the world is bad.
Yeah.
And it's a weird dichotomy because I have amazing friends. I have enough money to buy medicine and food and pay my rent, and I have a great family, and I love my life, but I really struggle with my country and with the world that we live in. And so it's a weird dichotomy of how am I within and how am I without, and trying to balance that and do what I need to do is tricky. So I think that I'm good, and then there's like a little asterisk after that.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about Derek Chauvin being convicted on all counts in Minnesota, where you're from? Like, that's a pretty good thing, I think.
It is. It obviously it is. I mean, and yes, I'm from Minnesota. I have a very personal connection to all of that stuff. And also, I'm constantly baffled by how often I'm biting my nails for the obvious thing that should happen to happen.
Yes.
Whether it was, Biden beating Trump or a clearly obvious murderer being guilty of murder. Exactly. I hate how often we are put in the position of biting our fingernails, being so anxious to receive results that are so obvious.
Oh, of course.
So it's of course good news, but the underlying current of that good news is like, no shit. Can I swear on this show?
Oh, it's too late now. Okay.
I said shit. I didn't close it off with a T. Should I not swear on this show?
Yeah, this is a family channel.
Copy that. Well, then, no crap.
No crap.
It's baffling, but he should go to jail, and I'm glad that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have your tea. We have our tea today. What are you drinking, Ryan?
This is green tea matcha latte that I made with matcha powder in my kitchen.
Nice.
In a Star Wars mug.
Oh, we love Star Wars. Kenna, how are you feeling? And what tea are you drinking today?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's Friday, so I just got done with school. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Obviously, what's happening in the world is very scary and very sad. But other than that, I'm doing very well. And as for what tea I'm drinking, I'm not sure. My mom made it for me, so nice. I don't know.
Nice.
What about you, Christina?
Well, okay. Few things. One, I just got my first shot of the vaccine 2 days ago, so I was a little bit sore, but other than that, I've been so excited just off the sheer fact that I'm back, like half vax. I'm half vax right now, and I'm just really excited about that. On the term of global events, I feel like at this point, every time I turn on the news, it's just police killing black people every single day. Today in North Carolina, they won't even release the body cam footage, and it's getting to the point where it's like, and the 16-year-old, I'm 16 years old, and I'm having to worry about getting shot by the police, right? And it's just like every single time I think that something good happened, and I would think that, oh, Derek Chauvin got convicted, people are going to change their ways, and we're going to sing Kumbaya and hold hands, and it just, the world tends to just slap me in the face and show me no, that just, you get 2 steps forward, and then you get 72 steps backward, and then everybody's confused as to how you got there. Why are we not in the 2 steps forward place that we are? And it's just really backwards, but I'm really excited today to have you, Ryan, and I'm just really excited for this conversation.
Me too. I've literally, Liv and Maddie was one of my childhood shows. I remember I used to watch it during the summertime. I binge watched it, and just that was one of my childhood shows. So it's so crazy to be with you, talking with you right now.
Yeah, Liv and Maddie, I think, was the last Disney show that I really watched and was invested in before that switch happened where you don't watch Disney anymore and you don't know why. Liv and Maddie was my last show. And I also Heathers was one of the first shows that I was really into theater wise. I was already well into musical theater, being a theater kid, but the summer that my friend introduced me to Heathers was a game changer. It was an absolute game changer. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today. Thank you so much for coming on here. And yeah,
it's my pleasure. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I guess we should start. Also, there is a link to donate to Broadway for Racial Justice. It is up on the screen right now. It's right there. Go donate, guys. Please go donate. We would love to raise a lot of money today for Broadway for Racial Justice. So yeah, I guess we should just dive right in. Ryan,
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just give us a little overview of who Ryan McCartan is.
The synopsis. Yeah, I was born and raised in a suburb a little west of Minneapolis in Minnesota. I have been doing theater since basically as long as I can remember, like 6, 7, 8 is kind of when I started. When I turned 18, I applied for a college I didn't want to go to, went to it for 70 days, dropped out, and moved to Hollywood. And hit the ground running as an actor on TV, film, stage. I've been on Broadway. And I love to create. I love to entertain people. I love to do whatever I can to inform people. I love smart, passionate people with good hearts who have their eyes on good prizes, and that's why I'm here, because I really like what y'all are doing. And I don't know. That's my synopsis about myself.
Oh, that's a great synopsis. Oh my goodness. Okay. I think we should start off diving into kind of what got you into musical theater, or like knowing that like acting was something that you wanted to do for the rest of your life. Like, I know that you went to the Jimmy Awards, and that you won the Jimmys. What was that like? And what was your high school like culmination of like events that led you to knowing that this is something that you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a great question, and I don't know if you've heard me answer this question before or not, but it's wild that you bring up the Jimmy Awards, because that was a very defining moment for me. I was diagnosed with diabetes at age 6, and by the time I was 8, my health had gotten to a point where physical activity was really hard for me. At the time, I was playing a lot of sports, and at that time, at that age, my body just couldn't handle it, and so I quit everything and was just sort of, playing video games in my room all the time. And my parents were like, "Ryan, that's not a viable option. You can't just like play video games and get paid for it." And now I'm on Twitch. But anyway, they. So it was like, we need to do something with you. Let's get you out of the house. Let's get you moving. And my sister was doing theater at the time, so that's kind of how I got into theater. But, coming from a sort of conservative white-collar suburb that's kind of all about, like, be a lawyer or a doctor, or I guess if you have to, a teacher. Like, those were kind of the options. It was like, work for a company and be smart and vote for Republicans. And I was like, I don't think so. So theater was always sort of pitched to me as a hobby, and that's always kind of how I viewed it. Even though I was working professionally and was making money, that was still sort of how it was like ingratiated into me culturally. And it wasn't until, so I did the Jimmys my senior year of high school, and also a program called Young Arts. And I ended up winning the Jimmys, which was not something I expected to happen. And I ended up being named a presidential scholar in the arts by the Obama administration. Thank God it was Obama and not Trump. Those two events, extremely humbling, absolutely incredible, but also totally unexpected. Those two events sort of got me into this mindset of like, oh, like, not only am I like good at this, which is neither here nor there, but this is a real thing. It's not just, some hobby. Like, the real smart, incredible professionals do this and change the world with it, and I want to be one of them. And so that was sort of the transition to when I kind of started taking it seriously. But then there was another transitional moment when I knew that it was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. After I had moved to California, after like 8 or 9 months of being here, I ran out of money and ran out of options, and ended up sort of sleeping in my car for a little while, and through the patronage of a very lovely woman who is still a dear, dear friend of mine, who took me in and let me stay at her house for a while. I was homeless, and it was still worth it. Like living in my car, paying $24 a month to subscribe to a gym so that's where I could take my showers, and going off and still doing auditions and still trying to that was worth it. And when I realized, like, which isn't to say like it's only worth it if it's worth being homeless for. That's not what I'm saying. But when I realized, like, there genuinely isn't anything I wouldn't do for this, that really aligned me into the realization that, like, this isn't just my job. This isn't just, my hobby. This is since my sincerest passion. This is my raison d'etre. This is the reason that I'm here.
Right.
And that offered me a lot of freedom to not take things so seriously, and to understand that regardless of the outcome of my life, I can, keep trudging along and making art, and that's always sort of been my heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Like, I think there's a saying that's like, what are you when there's nothing left? Or like at your very weakest point, what are you? And I think you got there and you were like, this is me, and this is what I'm doing, and I know who I am. This is me, right? And
yeah.
I think that's amazing. And you've made some incredible art, and you've been a part of some incredible art. I know Kenna really wants to talk about your music, so I'm gonna let Kenna take it right now.
Okay,
Go, Kenna.
I want to say I love pink and green.
I love pink and green. Oh my goodness.
It's just so amazing.
It's so
and
good.
I wanted to ask you, how do you do it all? How do you write music? How do you do the music videos? How do you produce? How do you do all of that? Because from what I've seen, you do all of it, and that's just so crazy because a lot of artists don't really do that anymore. And so I don't know. How do you do it?
Chapstick break. I think the simplest way to answer that, how do I do? I do it with the help of some really smart and really talented people. Especially like all of the promotions, the content, the video. Like, so much of that vision is Samantha's. A lot of that vision, I have a friend, Sloan Avery, who is just incredibly smart in terms of production design. Torrance Coombs, also a great Twitch streamer and a fantastic actor and a great friend. He's a good photographer and has taken a lot of my album artwork. Like, if you're talented, that's great. But a genius understands that everyone else is smarter than them. Like, a genius surrounds themselves with people who are way better than them, and is able to, leverage that. I have some incredible people in my community that I can rely on, and that's huge. That is one of the most important parts about being an artist. In terms of actually making the music, that is all me. And, my sort of origin story with that is when I was on the Disney Channel, Dove Cameron and I were sort of packaged as this pop duo that we produced, and that
oh my goodness,
the Girl in the Dreamcatcher.
The Girl in the Dreamcatcher. I just remember that. Oh my goodness, I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I remember that too.
Okay. And so I was writing all the music for that project, and working with some incredible people, and we had the weight of Disney behind that, and all of that was fantastic. Actually, you maybe can't see, but I'm using inner ear monitors, and they still have dream catchers on them because they were customized at that time when we were touring.
Nice.
But the weird thing about the music industry, but a great moment of illumination for me. I was writing all of the music for The Girl in the Dreamcatcher. Everything except Written in the Stars, I wrote. And when you write a song, but someone else produces that song, they own it. Doesn't matter if you wrote the whole thing. Doesn't matter if you sang on it. If they produce it, they own the master. And then you're in debt to them until you can slowly buy it back, or you have to buy it back. You have to buy it outright before anything happens to earn all your money. And producers kind of set their price. And so we were working with producers that were charging $6,000 a master. So if we wanted to release a 5-track EP of songs that I wrote and owned the intellectual property of, it would cost $30,000.
That's ridiculous.
And that's just the way it is kind of what I was hearing a lot. But I was kind of like, yeah, but it's not the way it has to be. Like, I'll just do it. And so, when Duff and I broke up and subsequently The Girl in the Dreamcatcher was no longer, it was a huge moment of opportunity for me where I was like, okay, I can continue to make music, but I can do it my way and I can figure it out on my own. And I don't owe myself $6,000. I can just be like, no, you good. And I won't have to pay that money up front. And so what that led to was a journey that I'm still very much on of figuring it out all by myself, because another odd thing is it's not like I could reach out to my producer friends and be like, hey, can you teach me how to do what you do so that I don't have to pay you anymore? It's kind of like going to a shoemaker and being like, how do you make shoes? They're going to be like, I'm not going to tell you that. Just buy my shoes. And so it was a very lonely and continues to be a very lonely process of it's a lot of button pushing and a lot of knob turning and a lot of like, how does this work? I don't get it. But, practice makes perfect. And over time it all came together. And I feel very proud of all the art that I've ever made. One of the greatest lessons to an artist, never judge your past work. I'm proud of all the art that I've ever made. But I'm especially proud of the last 3 releases, High and Low Politician and Pink and Green. I just feel objectively that I really improved over the past couple of years and really kind of found my footing in how I like to produce. And Pink and Green,
I love Pink and Green.
Is especially very, very special to me. It kind of combines everything that I like, the way that I like to make music, how I like music to sound, but also Pink and Green has a almost theatrical tone to it, which sort of blends in, the way that I sing when I'm on stage. So I don't know. I loved the journey. I loved making it. I loved the reception. I'm so glad that you guys like it. It means the world to me.
There's so many people in the comments going, stream Pink and Green for clear skin and all kind of stuff. Are you one of the people who likes to look back on your work? Or are you one of those people who's like, I do not want to see anything that I have done? Like, do you like to watch your old stuff or stuff that you put out in the past? Or are you one of those people who's like, I'm good. You can watch it. Thank you.
I think for the most part, I actually really do. There are a few exceptions of, just things that have maybe crossed the borderline into a little cringy. A couple high school performances come to mind, or maybe a couple episodes on Disney Channel come to mind. Just a couple things where I'm like, you want me to do what? But for the most part, if you can watch yourself critically, not judgmentally, but critically, you learn a lot from that. If you can listen to yourself critically, not judgmentally, but critically, you can learn a lot from that. I learned a lot from listening to my old masters and being like, oh my God, I've come very far in these specific places. And it's important to map your own growth. It's important to watch a performance from 10 years ago and be like, wow, I'm a lot better than that. That feels good. And, you can watch a performance or listen to yourself 10 years ago and be like, wow, I was garbage then. Or you can use it as evidence to say, wow, I'm so much better now. It's all about mentality. And some people they can't make that switch. And that's why a lot of people are very allergic to experiencing their own art that has been in the past. My mentality is always autodidactic, self-learning. I'm always trying to learn more from myself. And so again, with a few exceptions, I love to go back and explore some of the older stuff.
Well, yeah, I think I've seen like a lot of people have been like back and forth. I know I see videos sometimes and like people be like, I never watch anything that I do. But speaking of things in the past, I think it's time that we talk about Heathers.
Sure.
Ken and I, we had a third person earlier, and we were all three Heathers, but unfortunately, she isn't in here right now. But I do want to shout out and say happy late birthday, Sydney. She does all of our graphics and everything. This could not be possible without her. And her birthday was on Wednesday. So if you go to our Instagram, we have her social media in our link tree in our bio. So please, if you'd like to, go wish her a happy birthday.
Yes, so happy birthday, Sydney.
Happy birthday.
Just wanted to say that real quick. Okay, Heathers, a few questions. One, what was it like when you got, like, how did the whole Heathers thing work? Did you, like, get a call and they were like, hey, like, we're, like, interested in you, or was it more of, like, an audition process?
Both. So the whole reason that Heathers happened for me is the executive producer of Liv and Maddie was also the executive producer and director of Heathers. And so he had just cast me as Diggy. We had done like 3 episodes together, and he was kind of like, I'm working on a new musical, and someone, on staff told me that you sing. And, well, actually, this is very full circle, because I was like, yes, I do. And he was like, do you have any videos? And I was like, sure. And I sent him the link to me singing at the Jimmy Awards.
Nice.
And, Jason Rob Brown's someone to fall back on, not very JD, but still, like, yes, I can sing. Here you go. And so it was from that conversation and from sending him that video that he was like, we would love for you to audition for this. So I had sort of a leg up in the sense that I was working with the guy in charge. But I still had to go through a very arduous audition process. And that was not for the original off-Broadway production. That was actually for a workshop that was here in Los Angeles. And that workshop was busted. Like, we were in, like, a tiny theater. We were, like, breaking all of the fire codes just to be able to, like, fit our audience in the theater. We were literally in a hole in the wall, doing Dead Girl Walking. Like, the audience was basically on stage with us, just as Barrett and I were just, like, groping each other. It was wild. But lo and behold, the owners of New World Stages, where we ended up doing the off-Broadway production, saw our production in LA and was like, we would like to transfer this to New York if you guys are willing. And so at that point, production had sort of given us this speech of, like, because we closed Los Angeles Heathers in, like, October, and they were like, keep your eye on your email, like, at the top of next year. And sure enough, by February of the next year, I forget where I am now. Is it 2014, 2015? I forget when Heathers opened. But we were all in New York. And it was odd because the turnaround was so quick that production was actually more focused on raising the money that they needed to cross the finish line than they were so much about changing our show. The show that we made in Los Angeles and the show that we ended up premiering in New York were very similar, actually. And so our rehearsal process was mostly review. And then it was a lot of, like, showcasing. Like, 2 hours of each rehearsal process was, like, showcasing to money people. Like, here's us singing 17. Here's us singing Shine a Light. Like, here's Meant to Be Yours. Give us money. Which is unlike anything I've ever done. Every single project that I've done, usually the money is there, and then you start. In this case, the window of opportunity to get Heathers to New York was sort of now or never. And so they pulled the trigger. All of us went there, and we started rehearsing, and then they were kind of retroactively raising the money, which was quite odd. but I mean, a wild experience. Like there would be nights where we would get an email and we would all like show up to like these penthouses on Riverside and like sing for rich people in their houses, and we're just like, can't we be sad? Oh, there's their kid, teen. Like, it was very strange. It was unlike anything that I've ever done.
Have you seen Smash? Like the show Smash?
I not a lot of it, but I obviously know what it is.
Okay, yeah, because there's this one episode, and they're like all at this party of this like rich kid, and then somebody makes a phone call, and they're like, "Hurry up and get the cast down here so we can like showcase the show." Like, I guess that's something like that. I think that Heather,
I mean, it does happen, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just a Smash thing, but I'm guessing it's real life. Wow. But
I have a question. But do you think? I mean, like Heather's is a cult classic. Do you think it will ever like come on Broadway or like?
Do you think we can have a Heather's revival, or is it?
Say that again.
Do you think like Heather's will have like a revival or come on Broadway, or do you want it to have a revival or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I do. The interesting thing that's happened with Heather's is it's found a lot of success in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. A lot of theater happening in the UK. Schools don't get shot up in the UK.
Right. That was what I was going to ask.
It's tricky here. Like, we try, and I appreciate it. I appreciate what they're trying to do. You know, it was our sort of talking points was like, Heather's is an anti-bullying message. And it is. Heather's is life can be beautiful. Let's stick together. It doesn't matter if you're, the geek or the stoner or the Martha. Like, we can all come together. We can all treat each other with kindness. I think that's a beautiful message. And I think that is the overarching landscape of the show. However, a major plot point of Heather's is terrorism in school. And I don't know how well it would read in today's, for better and for worse, sort of ultra-woke climate,
right,
to put a zany musical that features terrorism in schools on Broadway in America. I'm just not sure it's the most tasteful. Heather's, as it stands, is not a commentary about the JDs of the world. Predominantly white social outcast males with guns.
Yeah.
But it could be. And so it's like, if they changed it around and made it a comment, leaned in, talked about that this is such an issue and why, the fact that this is someone who is completely neglected, the fact that the school counselor was more focused on her 10 seconds of fame than actually caring for the students, that maybe this could have been preventable. There's a way for it to become a commentary, for it to be self-aware, and I think if that were the case, it could probably see life here. But as it is, I don't know. I'm certainly not equipped to make that decision, but I think the reason that we see it happening a lot more in the UK than we do here, at least in on the West End and sort of those high-end theater circles, that would be my guess for why that's happening. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, and they changed it. Like, I know they have like an added song and like stuff like that.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that every generation has their musical that was kind of like, this shakes things up a little bit. Like, this is cool. And like, I know like Rent was one. A chorus line way back in the day was like, this is something new, Spring Awakening. And then I think for our generation, I think that Heather's is one. And I think Heather's and Hamilton are two.
Yeah.
Because Heather's had this commentary and this that was not really going on. This wasn't really something that I think everybody was exposed to. And I think that's why so many people who aren't necessarily into musical theater in general are into Heather's. And I think the same goes for Hamilton, but on the sides of like, this is like a racially diverse cast, which if you support diverse casting and a diverse casting initiative, this is a perfect plug. Broadway for Social Justice, it's directly underneath Ryan right now. Donate, guys, donate.
That was really good.
But
that was so well integrated.
It was by accident. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, you played JD, and what was it like mentally and physically and emotionally to be this character who is badly damaged, um, who's like so damaged 8 shows a week? Like, what did that? How did that affect you mentally?
Really, really, really good question. I think that I talk about this with students all the time because I just philosophically feel very strongly about this, and we can smarter people than me have debated this for a long time, and that's all fine and good. But I feel that this idea of sort of like method acting, this idea of sort of becoming the character, is very dangerous for that exact reason. Like I am tasked with playing a murderous, sociopathic, societal fringe. It's incumbent on me to become that, to understand it. I find that very dangerous. And so my philosophy about acting is also how I protect myself, which is that I don't want to become JD. I want JD to become me. JD and I have a lot that we don't have in common, like the fact that he has killed people. That's probably the biggest thing that we don't have in common. Mm-hmm. But what JD and I do have in common is damage. I am damaged, not to the extent that he's damaged, but I am. What JD and I have in common is a fierce loyalty to those we love. He is fiercely loyal to Veronica. It manifests in a terribly toxic way, but he's fiercely loyal to the people that he loves. I'm a diabetic and he loves Slurpees, so maybe there's something there. But, the idea being, I view acting holistically as an inside-out metric rather than an outside-in metric. An outside-in metric is, this is JD and I'm going to become him. An inside-out metric is this is me and I'm going to put as much of me into JD as possible so that JD is colored with all of the things that make him damaged and frustrated and loyal and loving and violent and scary. But that I am not colored with his human tendencies of violence and terror.
Right.
And so that way I'm able to imbue it with my own experience and access what I need to access, because the great secret about theater is that no one can read your mind. So I can be singing Meant to Be Yours, or I can be, talking about my reason for bombing this school. But in my head, I'm thinking about something very different. But they're connected by an emotional thread. The audience isn't going to be able to know what I'm thinking, right? But as long as the emotional thread is there, it still is going to work. And so I would go as far to the emotional place as I could safely. And I would let the writing and the circumstances of the musical do the rest of the work, rather than going all the way, because we've seen actors go all the way there and terrible things have happened to them. Yeah. And, acting needs to be, it's a tightrope dance. It needs to be a little dangerous. It needs to be a little vulnerable, but it can't be that bad. We need to protect ourselves first and foremost. Otherwise, we can't be vessels for future work.
Do you think that JD was your hardest role to play because he was a sociopath? Yeah.
That's a really interesting question. I actually don't think so. I mean, JD, it was easy to play him because he was, I think, very well written. I think everything that I needed to fill in the blanks that I needed to fill, and to stay away from the things I needed, everything was there for me. If there was a place that I didn't want to go, the writing would take the audience there, and I didn't have to go there myself, right? It's harder in circumstances where maybe characters are a little underwritten, they're not as fleshed out, where you have to fill in those blanks on behalf of, the overall story. Because then you do have to sort of go to some places, you have to fill in the blanks, do your own math.
Right.
And that's really tricky to do. So JD actually was nothing about JD was easy, but JD wasn't that hard because I was able to create this emotional distance in a healthy way, and the writing was really good. JD's a very clear character. We know who he is.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the subject of like characters being hard to play, what was it like playing as iconic a role as Fiyero in Wicked? Like, what was that like?
So, very similar but very different. Well, I think Fiyero is also a very well written role. But I also, the thing about playing a role that has been, for a long time. There are two ways that I've seen this happen. One, when I played Hans in Frozen for the very short time that I was allowed to, they were very. What am I trying to say? It was very important to the Disney theatrical group to have this version of Frozen be very different. They gave us a lot of room, and so my Hans ended up being very dark and very evil because that's what they wanted. They wanted to grow it up a little bit, and that was their philosophy. Nothing right about that, nothing wrong about that, just that was their philosophy, so that's what we did. At Wicked, the philosophy is very much like, we know what this show is, so this is how we need you to do it. Nothing wrong with that, nothing right with that. I mean, well, some things right with that, some things wrong with that, some things right with the other thing, some things wrong with the other thing. Nothing's perfect. It's art. So with Fiyero, there wasn't a lot of room. This is who Fiyero is. This is where we need him to be. This is the emotional map. It's been done for you by Norbert Leo Butz and Taye Diggs and everyone else in the whole world. It's been done for you already. Which, as an actor, is a little bit frustrating because it's like, but I want my Fiyero to be brand new. But my Fiyero was brand new. My Fiyero was unlike anyone else because no one is me, right? Sometimes when you let go of your pride a little bit, it's like just my body, my voice, my choices, my experience. That makes it different enough. But they were very specific about what Fiyero was feeling, what Fiyero was thinking, where Fiyero comes from. And since there wasn't a lot of wiggle room there, it was actually pretty simple to find him because he was already found, if that makes sense. Fiero's main song is Dancing Through Life, and I have 2 left feet. So that was the most difficult part about it, was like, oh, I need to be this smooth moving, smooth talking dude. But, I worked with a team there that got me in tip top shape, and it was a lovely experience and an incredible show to make my debut on.
Wow! Oh my goodness, that was a great answer. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you give wonderful answers. They're so well thought out, and I just really like them.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing I like about you on social media in general, or one reason that I like to watch Sam and Ryan YouTube channel and watch your Instagram lives, is because I feel like you're a person who's very authentic and very I feel like you're not afraid to be vulnerable with your fan base and with your viewers, because I know a lot of influencers, we see this perfect Barbie doll, Ken doll, Barbie dream house image of their life, and that's all you see. And then I feel like you, on the other hand, and you and Sam, that you guys are not afraid to answer the tough questions, and you're not afraid to tell the truth, and the truth about things that have happened and how they affect you and how you're feeling. Nobody's always happy. Nobody's always happy. Nobody's life is perfect. And if your life is perfect, just wait. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Wait and see.
I mean, right. If you, it's not if your life is perfect, just wait. It's if you think your life is perfect, think again.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can convince themselves that their life is perfect, and they can showcase that all they want. But the ironic thing is that when you factor in everything, literally everything, we are all almost exactly the same. And that's why it really bothers me when people try to take some sort of elevated high ground, be it with class, race, religion, followers. Oh, well, I have this number by my name. I have this much money. So it's like, girl, you struggle, I struggle, he struggles, she struggles, they struggle. We are all the same in that regard. Mm-hmm. So what is this? Why are you playing pretend right now? Drives me crazy. Yeah. I appreciate everything that you said. That I feel very seen, and that's very nice. However, I will say, just so that we don't employ revisionist history here, like that this has not always been the case with the way that I interact and display myself on the internet. Especially when I sort of first joined Disney Channel and when I first kind of got the taste of fame, and I was young and inexperienced and not going to therapy yet and all this kind of, there. I definitely subsidized my behavior on the notion that, like, I'm probably always right. And, my life is probably pretty close to perfect, actually. That there was a very steep learning curve for me to realize that pretending to be something that I'm not is not only just stupid, but it actually costs you. And for whoever is listening or whoever might need to hear this, I mean, y'all are young. You have huge futures ahead of you, and I'm young too, but I'm just older young. I'm 27. And it probably took me up until I was 25 to finally be like, you know what? I'm just going to be. And I would really hate for anyone else to waste as much time as I did. Which isn't to say that I've had it so rough or woe is me. It's not, because I'm so incredibly proud of who I am, and if that's what it took for me to land here, so be it. I love my life. It's not perfect, but I love my life. And I love myself. But it took me a long time to land there because I was constantly denying him. And so, for whatever it's worth, for whoever's listening who might need that message, don't make the same mistake that I did. You can pretend all you want, but the good and bad thing about the fact that social media is so prevalent nowadays is you are seen for what you are. No matter how much you pretend, no matter how much you try to make this perfect brand, you are seen for what you are. Even those influencers who have this glossy, everything's perfect look, you can tell, you can see it in their eyes, or you catch them in that one moment where it's like, oh, that's who you really are. You can't hide your true self. You can't. So why would you try? Be your true self, be authentic, and then once you are on full display as your true self, when you run into snags, when you run into bumps, those are maps to you. Now you can learn. If someone criticizes you for who you aren't, you can't take that and learn. If someone gives you an honest criticism about who you are, you can take that and learn and get better. You can't get better until you start as you are. And that's a mistake that I made in my young adulthood that I'm happy to have corrected, and I'm happy that you see that. Because if nothing else, I mean, I hope to lead by example. I have a lot of young people who follow me, and I don't want them to make the same mistake that I made.
Well, I know you talked about Disney a little bit early on in that answer, so I guess we should talk about it. Let's talk about Disney. I know that you've worked at the parks, and you've basically worked in every facet of Disney. What was, I guess we should start with, how was the start of just going in for Liv and Maddie, or did you know it was going to be Liv and Maddie? What was that whole area era? Time?
So the first thing that I ever did when I moved to Los Angeles was test for a Disney Channel pilot. So it was between me and 5 or 6 other dudes, and we were all vying for some role on some show that never went. And I got really close in the sense that I was testing for it, but that audition went so badly. And the casting director at Disney contacted my manager, and they were like, listen, he is not right for this, and that was so obvious, and that audition was pretty painful. But like, he is good, so keep bringing him in, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in January of 2012. So
right
then it would have been, what's that?
So like right after you graduated high school. Like
right after I graduated high school.
When you first got to California.
That's right. So then May of 2013, I think, is when I got Liv and Maddie. Mm-hmm. Between January of 2012 and May of 2013, I auditioned for, got called back for, and tested for probably 24 roles on the Disney Channel, and didn't book every single one of them. So with Disney Channel in particular, that story was like, there are a couple people in this system who really believe in you, but they're not. But we're not just gonna put you somewhere. We're gonna put you in the right place, and that's a lot of what being an artist is. Like, having people notice your art and being like, okay, this is really lit. This person's really good, but trusting that, okay, just because someone saw me and thinks I'm good today doesn't mean that translates into a job tomorrow, but it might translate into a big job in a year. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how the sort of the beginning of Liv and Maddie and my relationship with the Disney Channel happened.
What was your experience like on Disney Channel in general? I know we hear a lot of stories on like the internet of like, oh, this was what Disney Channel did to me, or this is how this person was treated at Disney. Like, what was your Disney experience like?
I was very lucky because I sort of got all of the parts of all of the perks of being a Disney Channel star without technically being one. So Diggy heavily recurred on the show, and as a recurring guest star, I am employed by the producers of the show. If I were a series regular, I would be employed by Disney Channel. A very tiny distinction that is extremely important, because when you are a series regular and you're under contract with Disney Channel, they own you. When you're under contract with the producers, they don't. So if the producers wanted to negotiate, we want you back for an episode, I would be in negotiations with them. But if I booked, say, a musical about killing people, I could go off and do it and I wouldn't have to ask permission, which is why I could simultaneously be wholesome Diggy and murderous JD literally at the same time. I was shooting Liv and Maddie and doing Heathers at the same time. So the harsh realities of Disney Channel's sort of need to control every aspect of their talents' lives, that pressure didn't fall directly onto me, but you can't be on a Disney Channel show, no matter who you are, without that pressure indirectly falling on you. And then when you combine that with the fact that, you know, Dove and I started dating, the Girl and the Dreamcatcher sort of became a Radio Disney entity, I got closer and closer and closer and saw more and more and more. You know, Disney is responsible for almost every good thing that has ever happened to me. And I would be remiss not to acknowledge and accept that. I also think that Disney, as a whole, is responsible for a lot of incredible art and telling a lot of incredible stories.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And I also think that when you are one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world, you have made some pretty intense sacrifices to get to the top. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says, you don't make $1 billion, you take $1 billion. And all of the great things that you see and hear about Disney are true. And all of the really scary things that you hear about Disney are also true. And the same could be said about Amazon. The same could be said about Walmart. The same could be said about Fox, the same could be said about any top-tier business, because that's what capitalism does. Money is the almighty to these people, for better and for worse. I got paid. I got to make great art. I got to be on Broadway. I got to be in the parks. I got to be on the radio. I got to be on the channel. I'm extremely lucky for all of that. But also, I made this much money. They made this much money on my and all of my friends' backs by doing some really amazing and some really sketchy things. And both of those things are true at the same time. I learned a lot from it. I'm really grateful to have done it. I'm really grateful that it's over. And I think, if nothing else, I just learned no one is going to advocate on your behalf. So I have to advocate for me. And if I advocate for me and, the Disney overlords or whoever say, no, you can't have that, no, we won't give you that, you have to be comfortable walking, and I've done that in my career, not with Disney, but with other projects. I've walked away. I've said, if you're not going to treat me with the sort of human kindness and decency that I require, I won't work here. And then you're always met with the, well, then you'll never work in this business again. And then, 6 months later, I'm on Broadway, and it's like, okay, well, how did that go for you? But the entertainment business is all of the amazing things that you think it is. And it's all of the really shady, scary things you think it is, too. And I think that's the case with any business. I'm sure a lawyer would say the same thing at the top of his firm. You know what I mean?
I know you were Hans, and Frozen. So, how is Disney Broadway different than, other Broadway shows?
Y'all ask the best questions. This is nuts. Kenna, that's an amazing question. And I'm so glad that you asked it, because, I maybe came off a little shady about Disney Channel, and Disney Channel was a little shady to me. Disney Theatrical Group, the producers of Disney Broadway, the best people I've ever worked for. Period. Okay? So, it goes to show you, different tentacles of the octopus can be entirely different things, right? And someone described it to me this way, and I think this is the best way to describe it. Disney on Broadway is more like the Disney arm of Broadway than it is the Broadway arm of Disney. All of the cultural significance of Broadway, the behavior, the attitudes, all of that is enmeshed in the corporate culture of Disney Theatrical Group on Broadway. And that makes it so much better than just, not to sound at all slanderous, but that makes it so much better than just like another arm of Disney. Because it has all of that, all of that beautiful buttery Broadway frosting on that cake that just makes it 10 times better. And truly, I mean, I've never been treated better. I've never loved my bosses more than when I worked for Disney on Broadway.
Well, I have a question about kind of you and Sam. I know that you guys were together at the point when you were on Broadway and she was in LA. What was that like, living, I guess, this whole other life and being away from Sam? Like, how was that?
I've done long distance with a lot of people in just my life, even in high school. It's never easy, ever. But the easiest it can be is when two people are very much on the same page and genuinely have their own and each other's best interests in mind. Samantha's behavior, her attitude, her perspective, her positivity, the way that she approaches things, the way that she deals with conflict, it's honestly sort of unmatched. I don't think I've ever seen another human deal with things with such poise and grace, treat me so wonderfully. And so it was hard for all of the reasons that long distance is hard. but doing it with her didn't seem that bad. And I think it was because we were constantly communicating, but not like you have to call me every day at 5. Constantly communicating just in the sense of like, I mean, kind of how we started this whole thing, emotional check-ins. How are you doing? What do you need? Mm-hmm. Like even though I'm 3,000 miles away, we live in a digital world. How can I be of service to you? Mm-hmm. This is how we communicated with each other. What do you need today, even though I'm in New York? What do you need today, even though I'm in LA? Always planning like the next trip, the next time she could come out. Like the next time she could come out to New York was always in the calendar before she left. So if she came to New York in January, we had the flight booked for her to come back in March before she left. You know what I mean? So that we always like had something to look forward to at the very least. You know, and it I'll be completely honest, it helps that Broadway pays really well. Like it wasn't really a economic impediment to fly her out all the time. You know what I mean? Or whatever. She obviously, you know, does very well as well. So we were very fortunate in that regard to be able to see each other as literally often as possible. But you know, it's very tricky, and I think it's something that it happens in every industry. It happens to all kinds of people, but it's very uniquely prevalent in entertainment because so many people are displaced to go shoot this in this place or to go do this show in this place. And, you know, actors can be kind of skeevy. They can be kind of, you know, they're kind of sexual beings. And sometimes it's like, I am in a relationship. But again, communication, like to be able to pick up the phone and be like, you will never believe who just hit on me at work today. Like, you know, you got to do it. You got to be completely honest about everything. That's how we got through it. That's how we get through everything. We are completely honest about everything.
In like the same vein, kind of in a similar vein, I guess, the Sam and Ryan YouTube channel. You guys like post so frequently, which is great, guys. Check out Sam and Ryan YouTube channel. They always have content up. I watched the video about the water wigglers yesterday. But in that vein, like, what is it like having your relationship out in the open and out in the media and having like a YouTube channel together? It's so prevalent a part of like the Sam and Ryan channel is like you guys are there packaged together. And what is that like?
A great question as well. Especially considering I've had 2 very public displays of being in a relationship. Mm-hmm. This is no shade to my previous relationship. I'm sure if you were interviewing her, she'd say the same thing. Like in my first relationship, that was a very public one. I don't think we did a very good job. What you said was like having your relationship on display. Sam and my relationship isn't on display. And what we've done is we have accepted and understood that there are career advantages of packaging ourselves together. And so doing that very decisively, very carefully, this is what we share, this is what we don't share. This is what's for them, this is what's for us. My friend Laverne says, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You fill your cup and the spillover is for everyone else, right? Sam and my relationship cup, we fill it first. Everything else is for everyone else. And so, you know, what we choose to display is something that I think I can speak for us both when I say is something that we're very proud of. And what we choose not to display is something that we're very proud of and that we have made the conscious choice to keep private and keep precious. There, you know, you just gave me an amazing compliment saying that you find me like genuine and authentic, and I appreciate that. And I hope that this doesn't come off like I'm saying that we're lying all the time. But the Sam and Ryan, it's sort of like a character. It's very much us. Remember, I'm an inside-out actor. Mm-hmm. But there's a limit. There's a limit to how much you get of me. There's a limit to how much you get of me. There's a limit to how much the audience right now gets of me. There's a limit to how much, like, and I just think that's healthy. Mm-hmm. I think that's healthy for you. I think that's healthy for me. Like, I don't want, my fans or whatever to be under any illusion that, like, they're my closest friends or that they know all of my personal information. They don't. Right. And that's for their safety and for mine. I'm not trying to create this illusion. I'm trying to create safe spaces for people to be entertained and to be able to have these types of conversations and to have a great time. And I love my fans, genuinely have love for them. But I don't know all of them. And I know that they love me, but they don't know all of me. So we love versions of each other. And I think that's how you interact on the internet. Right. These are avatars. Right. And they play together and they mix and they mingle and it's fun. But the idea that this is all of me to be judged, all of me to be heard, all of me to be seen, it's just a little bit ridiculous. No one should ever do that. That's not safe. It's not good for you. Right. You exist in the physical, not in the digital. Yes. And that's a very important distinction that has to be made when you put yourself out there in the public sphere.
Yeah, like I would say that everything now, especially since COVID, is very virtual. And I met Kenna through Instagram, so extremely grateful for it. We reached out to Ryan through Instagram, right? Like none of this that is going on right now would be a thing without Instagram and without social media and without Twitch and all these streaming platforms. But I think there's a point where, too much of a good thing can be bad. And not to say that Instagram in itself is fundamentally bad or that YouTube is bad or that anything is fundamentally bad, but I think it can get to a point where you start feeling, maybe like say you're on Instagram and it's kind of like taking over your life. It can take over your life. Everybody has gotten to that point where they've been on Instagram for 5 hours and did not know what just happened to the past 5 hours and were sitting there and was like, what is this?
Yes.
And I also think there's a culture of like oversharing sometimes. Yes. Like everybody doesn't need to know everything. I'm so glad that you brushed your teeth 5 minutes ago. Thank you. But I don't really need to know. And I think like it's good to have things that are private. Because if everybody knew everything about everybody, then there would be no reason to get to know people and no reason to pursue having relationship with people. If when the moment I clicked on Kenna's Instagram page, I knew every single thing about her, I'd be like, okay. That's cool.
Yes, there'd be no interest to learn more. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and also like, Sam doesn't know everything about me. Like, I don't even think my mother knows everything about me. I don't know if I know everything about me. Jesus Christ. I mean, I have no idea. Like, people are too complicated to put in 140 character tweets or 60-second Instagram posts. Yes. We're just too complicated for that. To give a snapshot and to enjoy those snapshots on the internet is a wonderful thing, but it's not holistic. It's not a holistic view. And I also think, to your point, like, are these things fundamentally or inherently bad or good? I'm not even sure if that dichotomy is useful. Like, I think this I'm kind of crossing into the realm of the Buddhist a little bit here, but rather than sort of displaying these things on a dichotomy of like good or bad, right or wrong, I think it's more of joy and misery. That seems to be the most useful dichotomy. Am I using this platform in joy, or am I using this platform in misery? If I'm oversharing all of the grotesque, terrible things to try to get attention, to try to get pity clout, that's miserable. If I'm sharing the parts of me that I want to share, knowing full well that at any point I can close the gate and maintain my privacy again, that there's nothing but joy there. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I'm going to praise our fan base for a second, I think that's why the daddy fan base is such a rich environment, is because we do have boundaries and we do understand each other in the sense of like, I'm not your therapist, you're not my bully pulpit. Like, we are all human beings. We have, come together to watch this video or to do this Twitch stream or to listen to this song. Support means the world to me. I love you, you love me, and off we go to our lives. We approach it in joy, in the joy of each other, in the joy of communication, commiseration, information, education, entertainment, and then we walk away. I'll see you Friday. You know, there is a healthy and an unhealthy way to do pretty much anything. And it was very important to Sam and I, for ourselves, but also for the community that we have started to build one in a healthy way. Because God knows there are a lot of unhealthy communities on the
internet. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for just all of the conversations, and you brought up so many important topics, and thank you so much for just coming on our show to I just thank you so much.
Yeah,
we really appreciate it.
Incredibly grateful to have you here and to have this conversation and to have this dialogue. You know, like, sure, we talked about musical theater, but we also talked about social justice issues, and like, I think it's important to open up this dialogue and to have this dialogue with people, and I'm really grateful for you coming on here and having this dialogue with us.
Well, I'm incredibly grateful to be here. I'm so glad that you guys reached out, and please keep doing what you're doing, and get really good at it, and make a bunch of huge moves and a bunch of huge waves in the world, and then have me back.
We will. We'll have like a 10-year anniversary, and it'll be like that one Falsettos reunion, and we'll have like a Ryan reunion. But yeah, just thank you so much for coming on here. If you have anything that you want to plug, any socials or anything, now's the time.
Oh man, I mean, I don't know. Listen to my music. Follow me on Instagram. You'll find me. You know who I am.
Nice. Okay. We're gonna say bye to Ryan. And Ken and I are just going to kind of wrap up and close out. So...
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming to Christina and Kenna Spill the Tea. Thank you so much for watching this episode. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was an amazing episode. And just thank you guys so much for, sticking with us. This is our 3rd episode, and we've gotten a lot of new viewers. And just thank you guys so much for sticking with us. And yeah, thank you for watching.
Yeah, none of this would be possible without your support. Thank you so much for watching. Check us out on Instagram at Christina and Kenna. All of our socials are at Christina and Kenna. So thank you guys so much for coming. We really enjoyed it. Have a great day. I hope this